Hello my love, welcome to my favourite art supplies of 2024 so far. Welcome if you are new to my channel. I am Jenny Belly. Welcome back if you are not new to my channel. Normally I stay away from these kinds of videos in terms that I try not to sell people on art supplies. I'm very much of the opinion that if I have some inks and you have some inks, we can maybe do the same thing. You don't need to go out and get exactly what I've got. However, this year I have bought a lot of art supplies. If you want to help a girl out with the algorithm, please like this video, comment, let me know what supplies you are loving in 2024. I am really curious, although also a little bit apprehensive because it might be bad on my wallet if you guys come up with some good recommendations. And so I've been finding new favourites, old favourites I've been falling back in love with. And it's just fun sometimes to share our love of supplies. This video is not sponsored by any of the brands that I'm talking about though. I will, however, update my Amazon storefront, my Amazon page, whatever they're called, to include what I talk about in this video and maybe a few of my other favourites as well. If you want to give your favourite absentee on and off artist YouTuber some kickbacks. But I'm also doing this because the supplies I've discovered, some of them this year or rediscovered this year, are hopefully maybe going to save you some cash because you can go for the good stuff straight away. That was a nice save. Because over the years I have wasted some money on some not great supplies. So this is kind of the best of the categories that I'm talking about that I have discovered. Number one is Posca pens. I first discovered Posca pens maybe 15 years ago. Posca pens. Now I've used these for years, off and on for maybe 8 years, maybe 9. As you can see from this video, I uploaded it 7 years ago, and those pens that I was using from all those years ago still work. Now this year I have pretty much gone through and found every size nib, every colour that I could possibly want in Posca pens. For many years I was just kind of satisfied having a fairly okay amount of them, decent set, but you know, not everything that they possibly did. This year I decided I want the lot. And you know, they're worth it. They're opaque and they still flow. I've had some acrylic markers I bought maybe 18 months ago where the nibs are already rock solid and they cannot be used as paint pens anymore. So there are some other good brands that are not as good as Posca, and I do use a lot of different paint pens. You know, Poscas aren't the only ones on the market, they're not the only ones I have, they're not the only ones I use, but they are the best, in my opinion, because you can buy one set and as long as you haven't run the paint out that's in them, can still be using them 10 years, 20 years later. And yes, in some other, especially acrylic markers, you can buy the nibs separate and replace the nibs, but sometimes they get gunked up, sometimes they get stuck with the paint. You know, the paint can act like glue and keep the nibs in there. And I want a pen that I can trust and will flow like paint off of a paintbrush or be the next best thing. So that is my number one, is an old favourite but a rediscovered faithful companion now. Especially now I have all of the nibs from the smallest to the fattest. I love them. Number two is Conte pastel pencils. I do have a love for the regular Conte crayons, which I always have loved, but the pastel pencils, and I have also been a bit bad this year, as I say. I've done many hauls this year, and in there has been some pastel pencils. Many brands of ones that are extremely popular in just that niche of a pastel pencil, but these ones are so vivid, they are so strong, and I am talking about all of these media in terms of how I like to use media, which is mixed media. So the Posca pens, the Conte crayons, the other Conte pencils, the other things that I'm going to be talking about are usable with layers. I like to layer it up, and sometimes media then won't hold up to that because they won't go on top of 15 other layers that you've done. You know, they can struggle to be seen, and these are just, oh man, they're just beautiful, and they aren't chalky, they aren't messy uppy on your pages. I nearly said messy uppy on your pagey. That is to show that I been spending time with kids, but they don't just leave a mess everywhere like Pastels can do, and that's an element of Pastels I do not like. I like smudging when I smudge it. I don't like smudges all over a page once I've finished it and you close the book and then you look at it later and it's just a mess. These ones are pretty good for not having much dust. You know, as I'm doing this, there's crap all over the desk, but none of it is coming from the Conte crayons. I can't help it. Conte crayons just rolls off the tongue. I meant Conte pastel pencils. So these are a new love for sure. And in comparison to some of the other pastel pencils, they aren't as expensive. You know, I have Faber-Castell Pitt pastel pencils. They're quite expensive. I have the Stabilo Carbothello. They're quite expensive. These ones in comparison, you can get packs of them to make it cheaper if you just want to give them a try, if you don't want to invest in a lot. I've pretty much gone for them all because I do love them. And anywhere where I'm showing you this little journals, which I'll be showing you through, just show you how I use some of the media. That is out of my new class, Minuteness, which is a mixed media art journaling class where we make mini journals from scratch and then we make a mega journal. So that is a really fun class where I share how to use a lot of different media. It's a layer class. It's all about the layers, that class, as well as making these fabulous journals. And really the point of it is to make these journals in no time. It's called Minuteness for a reason. It's literally snatching your minutes where you can get them, because that's how I create nowadays, and creating these beautiful multi-layered art journals. So if you see any of the little journals, that's in that, and I'll stick a link below to come and join that class because I need to plug it. I haven't been plugging it and I need to plug it. So the number 2 is Conte pastel pencils. Number 3 is Montmartre soft, extra soft oil pastels. These are divine. They are super creamy. They're super dreamy. They are equivalent in my eyes, as good as Sennelier. But I won't use Sennelier. I'll say it too fast. In my art journals because expensive art supply syndrome, you know. I don't want to, when I'm just massing around. That was a mix of mashing and messing around in my art journals, and it isn't a proper painting that I am making. I feel, you know, just that inner critic in me is telling me not to use the good supplies. Now, I'm an advocate for using what you've got, I really am. But there is a little stumbling block in me over certain, you know, expensive supplies when you are just messing around in your art journals. These oil pastels remove that completely, for me anyway, because I was looking for some oil pastels that kind of leap that bridge between cheap and expensive, you know. I have both cheap and expensive, and the cheap are always kind of hard and nasty, and the expensive ones are always beautiful and soft and blendable, but expensive. So I looked around. I think the Paul Rubens ones also fit in this category. They're a tad bit more expensive, but I keep seeing them popping up on Amazon at a fairly good discount, so I'll probably end up getting some of those as well, and then I'll be able to compare the two. But for now, the Montmartre ones for me are divine, but you have to get the extra soft oil pastels, because I have some of their signature ones, their other ones, and they're kind of hard. They're obviously still usable for when I'm messing around in my art journals, but then if I wanted to come and do something more painterly or an oil pastel drawing just using that one media, I wouldn't go to those. I would go to the extra soft. And that is the beauty of these, is that they can bridge that gap for me between still using them to knock about in my art journals and just playtime and just enjoying creating for creating's sake, or then if I have an actual vision in my head of something I want to paint or create, I can do it with these because I know they will stand up to that, which is what I've always kept my Selenia for. So that is number two. Number 4, we are going back to Uni-ball, the Posca range, and that is their Posca pencils. Oh my god, these are delicious. These are so delicious, and again, I'm thinking of it through a mixed media artist lens of they are strong, they are vivid. I cannot remember whether they are more oil or wax combination, but whatever the combination is in these pencils means that they are so smooth. The Posca pencils, which are a mixture of oil and wax, contain more oil than wax, making the colours punchy and vivid. And this is what I call pencil pop, is where you use your pencils around whatever focal you've got. And you can keep it close like I have here, or you can spread it out a little bit more like this. But it's just kind of like a halo around whatever it is you've created on the page, just to give it a pop. That's why I call it pencil pop. But you can see the difference already, just in this area it's very clear. Watercolour, that's like I say, it's more of a wash. This is kind of a happy medium for me. Pencil, it's still got some punch, but you can see through to the background, whereas watercolour is kind of wishy-washy. I like it here, and that's got its place, but it's softer. I have tested them against so many other brands of pencils in my very layered art journals, especially over acrylic, and they hold up really, really well. There's always going to be some, like with the Posca pens, sometimes the white isn't as white, as opaque as what some of the other colours are, and that's the same with the pencils. It depends what combination you have, what layers you've got going on underneath, what colours they are, and what colours you try and apply on top as to how strong they are going to show up. That's just the nature of creating art, period, let alone mixing and matching medias and mixing and matching brands. But they have been the best that I've found. And again, they are not as expensive as some of the other stuff I've got in my pencil rack right now, let me tell you. And I think about that because, let me sit up straight. I realised how slouchy I was. Because when you are just creating for creating's sake, you can go through a lot of media, you know. And I try to, like I say, use all media, treat all media equally, but it's difficult if you've got, you know, my polychromos, and I'm like, maybe I won't use that as my first layer on an art journal page that I probably won't see. I will keep that for, you know, same with some of my Dewen and things like that. they are just a little bit more precious. And these ones, they are in that range of, they're not inexpensive, but they, for what they give, and I can go as a final layer with these pencils and they show up. That is just awesome. So that is my number 4. Number 5 might surprise you. It's paint sticks, which I am absolutely loving creating with. Now you can get these in tempera, or you can get them in gouache. I prefer the gouache, and they're designed for kids to be mess free. They're just paint in a tube that you can literally like colour with a crayon, but it's a more creamy, smooth. Think of like Faber-Castell's gelatos, but they are not water soluble. They are to a tiny degree. You have to catch them quick because they are designed to dry, so that, you know, kids aren't going to make a mess. But I have discovered certain colours you can manipulate a little bit with water or with, say, gesso if you get there and get in there quick. But they aren't designed for that, so don't buy them expecting them to be a gelato replacement, because they won't do that. But what I really like to do with them is just to loosen up, just to get something down, just to get flowing, and then I often just gesso over it. So it's fun, it's just freedom, it's just playing. I initially bought them to play with the kids in my family to create some artwork. I ended up just using them. They are very inexpensive, and they have them in neon, in metallics, in regular colours, in Dago colours. So I'm just saying there's all kinds of brands that do them, and I'm not particularly showing you the brand I've got to say this is the best brand like I am with some of the other things. I'm just saying that this is a really fun supply that I've discovered this year, and if you don't have any, and if you maybe just want to get one thing just to refresh your art supplies, maybe you've got the best of the best watercolours and the best acrylic inks and the best this and the best that, and you just want something that you can slap down and just have fun with, this might be a good thing to go for. Or just that one, you know, like new accessory you buy in your wardrobe that kind of refreshes your outfits. These paint sticks are just fun, and they may just bring out the kid in you. So I wanted to throw that one in there. So I hope you have enjoyed this list of my most favourite things that I am using in 2024 so far. Like, subscribe and all of that stuff. I'll see you soon. Bye. If you would like a new artsy video from me this week, I will be posting in my monthly challenge group on journal workshops a new art challenge video on the 1st. So that's it from me. Much love, everybody. Have an awesome week. I'll see you next time.